welcome, one and all, back again to another exciting lesson here at Apostate University. No one in there better laugh at this, by the way. I hear you laughing. Alright, good. I am your professor, Fateful Slave. Before we get into today's lesson, you shush in there. I thought I would be remiss in proceeding to today's lesson without first going back to some of the little tidbits that I skipped over in the last lesson. Don't worry, class, this will not be discussed in the final exam. Think of it as bonus information. Concerning our last lesson, we talked about Charles T. Russell. However, I failed to mention some of his controversies. Yes, scandals about the first president of the JW organization, Charles T. Russell. He was once involved with what was known as miracle wheat. Yes, on March 22nd, 1911, the Brooklyn Daily Eagle reported that Russell was accused of gaining profit from a strain of wheat named miracle wheat by K.B. Stoner of Fincastle, Virginia, who claimed to have discovered this strain. Russell sold the wheat for $60 per bushel, far above the average cost of wheat at the time. Throughout 1912 and 1913, the Eagle continued to report on Russell's alleged fraud. Russell sued the Eagle for libel, but lost. A government expert investigated the miracle wheat and said it was low in the government tests. I don't know what that means. Prior to entering the court, the Eagle declared that at the trial it will show that Pastor Russell's religious cult is nothing more than a money-making scheme. Russell denied affiliation, but he did sell quite a bit of the wheat as found by the court. In 1975, the Watchtower Society stated that gross receipts from the miracle wheat fundraiser totaled about $1,800, which is the current value of $47,000, of which Russell himself did not get a penny, quote unquote. It also said that the society itself made no claim for the wheat on its own knowledge, and the money received went as a donation into Christian missionary work. Of course, all on the up and up. Nothing scandalous there about Charles T. Russell's miracle wheat. And then also you have another notable part of the man's history was his allegation of immoral conduct. Yes, that's right. In 1897, Russell's wife left him after a disagreement over the management of Zion's Watchtower magazine. She also claimed to have grounds of mental cruelty from Russell, referring to forced celibacy and frequent cold, indifferent treatment by him. Separation was granted in 1906, with Russell charged to pay alimony. During the trial, Mrs. Russell's attorney alleged that in 1894, Mr. Russell had engaged in improper intimacy. Mrs. Russell alleged that someone had told her Mr. Russell claimed to be an amorous jellyfish floating around to different women until someone responded to his advances. I love that. Jellyfish. Alright, enough of Russell. You get the gist. He's kind of a weird dude. Was into some weird stuff. There was a bit of a scandal there. And that is how the Jehovah's Witness organization was founded, oddly enough. But the man who was responsible for giving the religious organization the shape that you see today was one Joseph Franklin Rutherford. You see, following the death of C.T. Russell back in 1916, along with his failed 1914 Armageddon prophecy, a man named Joseph Franklin Rutherford rose to power. The scene is bleak. The Bible students, formed by the late Russell, are discouraged, leaderless. The First Great World War rages on still. All hope for humanity seems to have been lost. It was at this moment, in 1917, that J.F. Rutherford saw an opportunity. Rutherford began a career in law, working as a court stenographer, trial lawyer, and prosecutor. Go figure, the man responsible for giving us the organization of the Jehovah's Witnesses as we know it today has his roots as being a lawyer. Go figure. He became a special judge in the 14th Judicial District of Missouri at some time after 1895. He developed an interest in the doctrines of Watchtower Society President Charles Taze Russell, which led to his joining the Bible student movement, and he was baptized in 1906. He was appointed the legal counsel for the Watchtower Society in 1907, as well as traveling representative prior to his election as president in 1917. His early presidency was marked by a dispute with the Society's board of directors, in which 4 of its 7 members accused him of autocratic behavior and sought to reduce his powers. The resulting leadership crisis divided the Bible student community and contributed to the loss of 1/7 of adherents by 1919 and thousands more by 1931. Trouble in paradise, as they say. Rutherford and 7 other Watchtower executives were imprisoned in 1918 after charges were laid over the publication of The Finished Mystery, a book deemed seditious for its opposition to the World War. That wasn't the only famous book by old Rutherford. Of his works was this, The Harp of God, proof conclusive that millions now living will never die. I actually received this book from a friend of mine who was a viewer. He told me that his grandmother was a witness. He never was. She had an attic full of old Watchtower publications and books, and I told him about this one to look for it, and sure enough, she had one. He sent it to me so that I could make videos and such. And so that's how I know that this is legit, okay? This is very dated. You can see how old and aged this is. I'm pointing this out because I know if a JW is watching this right now, it's easy to try and just call me a lying apostate who somehow fabricated this very old and dated book so that I could lie to you, which is obviously not the case. This is very authentic. This was printed, this looks like a reprint, printed in 1927. This generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Okay, I wanted to read one quirky passage from this book that I think you'll appreciate to give you an idea of the mindset of this Joseph Rutherford. You see, he seemed to think that the old prophets of old in the Bible would be resurrected within just a few years of this book's printing. Let me go back. So, page 339, The Harp of God. Because Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the other faithful prophets described by the Apostle Paul in Hebrews are promised a better resurrection because of the statement of the prophet that they shall be princes or rulers in all the earth, it is to be expected that they will be the first ones raised under the terms of the new covenant. Therefore, it is reasonable to expect them to be back on earth at the beginning of the restoration blessings. Hence, these faithful men may be expected on earth within the next few years. Rutherford was very intent on making everyone believe that Bible prophets were literally going to be raised from the dead within a few years of the printing of
Among
this
them
book.
was a book, The Harp of God.
Sorry, one moment. It's governing body member Samuel Hurd. Luckily, my martyrdom staff has mystical powers. I'll take care of this. Whew. That's better. Where was I? Rutherford. Yes. Rutherford took a cue from Charles Taze Russell's book and reinvigorated the remaining Bible students by pointing to a new date that would mark the end of this system of things, Armageddon, another doomsday prophecy from this early cult. But he insisted that the end of the world would come in 1925. It jump-started the movement. Rutherford introduced many organizational and doctrinal changes that helped shape the current beliefs and practices of Jehovah's Witnesses. He imposed a centralized administrative structure on the worldwide Bible student movement, which he later called a theocracy, requiring all adherents to distribute literature via door-to-door preaching and to provide regular reports of their preaching activity, which of course you're all familiar with. Who hasn't had them knock on their doors? Many of you knocked on their doors yourself. He also instituted training programs for public speaking as part of their weekly meetings for worship. He established 1914 as the date of Christ's invisible return, asserted that Christ died on a tree rather than a cross, formulated the current witness concept of Armageddon as God's war on the wicked, and reinforced the belief that the start of Christ's millennial reign was imminent. He condemned the observance of traditional celebrations such as Christmas, birthdays, and saluting the national flags, and the singing of the national anthems. So all the really annoying things about the Jehovah's Witnesses, you can really give credit to good old Rutherford. Thanks a lot. He introduced the name Jehovah's Witnesses in 1931, and the term Kingdom Hall for houses of worship in 1935. He wrote 21 books and was credited by the Society in 1942 with the distribution of almost 400 million books and booklets. Despite significant decreases during the 1920s, overall membership increased more than sixfold by the end of Rutherford's 25 years as president. He was a lawyer, and he knew how to manipulate people. He was able to really sell this thing, along with his predictions of doom and gloom. It really caught on. Now the Jehovah's Witnesses are somewhere around 8 million members worldwide, I think. Other interesting things that we can learn about good old Rutherford is it's often been stated that he sort of had a thing against Charles Taze Russell. He didn't like his beard especially. In fact, many of the old publications, Rutherford insisted that beards were really not good for a Christian to have. In fact, that's where the no beard thing came. Jehovah's Witnesses today still do not wear beards, especially if they are serving in the congregations as an elder, giving talks, etc., etc. Rutherford went so far as to even depict Jesus as having no beard back in the day. I see you! I see you back there! Yes. What was the other thing? There were also rumors that Rutherford liked the bottle quite a bit. But I think we'll save that story for another time. Once again, thank you very much for participating in this week's lesson. If you'd like to help my channel, my PayPal is located here, breathingfantasy@gmail.com. Like and subscribe. Also check out vastapostatearmy.com. Faithful Slave, I'm out. See you next time, class.